Good evening. I'm Mayor Javier Figueroa, and I'm calling this regular meeting of the University Place City Council for Tuesday, September the 2nd, 2025 to order. And before we start the roll call, we do have a resignation from our council member, Steve Worthington, that I would like to read. He took the time to write this. It's a beautiful letter, and I thought I would read it out to staff and council if you haven't read it, and to our public. So, from Steve Worthington: Dear Mayor Figueroa, City Manager Sugg, and City Clerk Chanisha, I am writing to formally submit my resignation from the University Place City Council effective August the 30th, 2025. Serving the residents of University Place over the past nearly 12 years has been one of the greatest honors of my life. It has been a privilege to work alongside such talented, thoughtful, and collaborative council members, each of whom brought their own unique strengths and unwavering commitment to our community. I also want to express my deep appreciation for the city staff. Their professionalism, integrity, and expertise have been instrumental in helping the council shape the future of University Place in ways I am proud to have been associated with. Their dedication behind the scenes have made our work possible and impactful. Working together to strengthen our finances, reshape our land use to meet today's needs, build the University Place economy, and provide compassion and solution for our residents and businesses when natural disasters, the pandemic, and challenges threaten them. These are just a few of the efforts I will always treasure being part of with you. Although I am in the process of leaving University Place, I will never be gone from me. It will never be gone from me. The relationships, memories, and shared accomplishments will remain a lasting part of who I am. Thank you for the opportunity to serve. I wish the council and the city continued success in all what lies ahead. Warm regards, Steve Worthington, Council Member, University Place. So I wanted to just, we'll be honoring Steve. There'll be some announcements as we go. So you'll be able to see him, and he's already agreed to the date when we will honor him. So we'll go from there. So thank you. So City Clerk, would you do the roll call, please?
Thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Boykin.
I'm here.
Councilmember McCluskey is excused. Councilmember Fleming.
Here.
Councilmember Grassi.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Wood.
Present.
Mayor Figueroa.
Present.
Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Councilmember Grassi, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yes, please stand for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank
you. And we'll do item number 4, approval of agenda. I'm calling for a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved. Second.
Is there any objections to approving the agenda? Hearing none, seeing none, it is unanimously approved. We'll move on to public comments. And before I go to the person that is signed up for, we have one person signed up, is there anybody online?
I don't see anyone online, Mayor.
Okay, so we'll continue to Jim Stevens. Are you here? Okay, would you come up? And there's a seat here. Matt, will you show him? Okay. And is it turned on?
Mike is on. Just bring it close to you.
And you have your name and your you don't have to do your address, but your name.
I've got everything here.
Okay,
Sure.
and you have 3 minutes.
Great. Well, my thanks to the City Council for allowing me to present my complaint. My name is Jim Stevens, 9723 60th Street, Court West, resident since 1991. And this is my first time of having any need to approach this council. This complaint has to do with the last chip seal project on my street, July 24th, 2024. In my estimation, it was the worst chip seal procedure I have ever encountered. To this day, tar-covered rocks get dragged into my driveway, stick to my shoes, are not removed easily, and have often been undetected, then get dragged into my home. I'm very disappointed with the lack of response and attention to my complaint by Jack Eklund, Public Works. My first email was on November 13th, 2024, was completely ignored. He stated later that it entered as junk mail. I'm not sure why an email from a taxpaying citizen gets processed as junk mail. Anyway, I then emailed Steve Sugg on December 4th, 2024. He also did not respond to me, but took the time to forward my email to Jack Eklund and asked him to respond. Jack Eklund did respond later that day. Mr. Eklund responded by saying that chip sealing is the most cost-effective way of maintaining our streets. Of course, I had no argument with that. My argument was the process that was used this year was clearly the poorest process I've ever seen in chip sealing. Mr. Eklund went on to say that a cleanup of residual gravel would take place in the next few weeks. I'm not sure that it ever took place, but if it did, it certainly did not solve the problem. On Thursday, July 24th, 2025, I sent an email to Jack Eklund along with a photo of the continuing issue on last year's chip seal. As of today, once again, I did not even get the courtesy of a reply. As a 34 resident who currently pays $7,000 per year in taxes, it seems to me that a little courtesy could be extended by the people who are supposed to be in charge by at least responding and addressing concerns such as this. I'm truly disappointed. Can I expect that by being here today, this will be passed along and the chip seal process reviewed and hopefully corrected for future applications? I have copies of emails and a photo if the council would like that.
You can pass it on to staff. It'll be fine. We'll get it from them.
Oh, yeah, okay, great.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
There's no one else signed up, but I want to extend to anybody that's any public that's here present, if they would like to comment, please come up, and you have 3 minutes. And I don't see anybody coming up, approaching the council, so we will close the public comments section. And we'll move on to item number 6A through G, consent agenda. I'm calling for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Mayor, I move to approve the consent agenda as proposed.
Second.
Is there any objection to approving the consent agenda? Seeing none, it's approved unanimously. Thank you. And we'll move on to public hearing and council consideration. Item number 7, 6-year transportation improvement plan 2026 to 2031. And with that, we have, and by the way, this is a public hearing to consider the adoption of the 6-year transportation improvement plan for years 26 to 31. And the staff report is from Public Works Director Jack Eklund.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and City Council. I'm Jack Eklund, Director of Public Works, and tonight I'm bringing to you for both public hearing and your consideration the annual update to the city's 6-year transportation improvement plan. This plan was previously studied at the August 4th City Council meeting. The City of University Place is required by state law to adopt and annually update a 6-year transportation improvement plan. This plan update covers years of 2026 to 2031. The primary changes to the plan are the Allen Spit Road project, which is project number 4, has been added. And then we've removed several projects because they either have been completed or will be complete by the end of the year, and those are the 35th Street Phase 1 project, 35th Street Phase 2 project, 67th Avenue Phase 2 project, and the Grandview intersection, or otherwise known as 36th Street Roundabout project, and all of those have been removed. In addition, we have updated the funding statuses of 3 projects, and those are project number 6, Chambers Creek Road Roundabout, project 12, the 67th Avenue Phase 3 project, and project 14, 40th Street Phase 3, and those have been updated to reflect recent grant awards. And then finally, the project schedules and costs have been updated across the board. The approval of the 6-year transportation plan does not commit the city to any financial expenditures. Rather, each project will be reviewed individually by the City Council in each relevant budget cycle as a component of the capital improvement plan. The approval of the 6-year transportation plan, however, does create eligibility for the city to apply for various grant opportunities. Many grant funding sources require a project in question to appear in the city's transportation improvement plan. And then in addition, the TIP provides indication to other jurisdictions and our residents of our city plan, of the city's planning direction for our transportation needs. I would like to direct you to your council packet where you'll see both the council bill and a resolution for this adopting this project or this update, and I do recommend adopting the resolution that's attached, and I'm also happy to answer any questions you may have on this matter. Thank you.
Is there any clarification? Councilmember Fleming?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Jack, just a quick question. When we look at those priorities that you've set, how did you arrive at those? Taking the Day Island spit-offs, because that's a given that that's a priority, but how did you arrive at prioritizing the others?
So the list itself is not specifically prioritized. It's just a list of the projects. We've gone away from attempting to prioritize just because of the nature of the funding. And ultimately, the prioritization of what we can get is what we can get someone to pay for. And so these are just simply a list. So one higher on the list doesn't indicate any higher preference by the city one way or the other.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? So the only thing I have is, you might have said it, but I just maybe was trying to catch up with you, but the last time we had this approval, which is on here, was June, if I got this right, June 17th, 2024?
I believe so. Yeah, it should be noted on the resolution, yeah.
So just remind me why so often, because I didn't think that we would approve these so often.
Yeah, we're
What triggered it?
required to do it annually, so we need to update it every year.
Okay, so I see the differences there. Okay, so it's not exactly on the month, but
Yeah, just sometime, generally in around this time of year.
as long as it's in this, as long as it's in the year, because I see May, I see July, I see August, so I see October, so we could just jump around. As long as it's in the year, it could be several months apart from a year.
Yeah, it's just kind of, you want to do it early enough, like it's kind of bad form to adopt it in December or something. But so we just want to do it early enough so folks, if other people are preparing their plans for things, they have an opportunity to review it as we get into the next year.
Okay. Is there any special provisions on how we can amend or correct that less than a year if something comes up that
Yep.
would trigger that?
We have the ability to amend it at any time.
Anytime?
Yep.
Okay. All right. I don't have any others. Anybody else? Okay. In that case, let me just catch up with everybody here. We will go into an open public hearing and take comments. And after the comments, I'll close the public hearing and go into council consideration. So with that, is anyone online on this?
I don't see anyone online, Mayor.
Okay, and I'll extend it to anybody here present from the public that would like to come up and provide public comment. And I don't see anybody jumping up, running over here, so, okay. So I will close the public hearing side of this and move on to council consideration. So I'm calling for a motion to consider the adoption of the 6-year transportation improvement plan.
Mayor, I move that we adopt a resolution approving the 6-year transportation improvement plan for the years of 2026 to 2031.
Second.
And we'll go into discussion and comments. So any discussion, any comments?
Just have one. Mayor, thank you so much. Just wanted to affirm that we had a really good detailed look at this, and the projects gave me clarity about two things. There's a lot of movement, a lot of business, a lot of projects going on in the city of University Place. I think that's an indication of the impact of not only the economic development, but the expectation of we are moving as a city. The only thing I can affirm beyond that is I want to appreciate the leadership that's happened to bring those projects forward, more than 30 some odd projects. And it's not an easy task. We just want to affirm the leadership and the staff for moving those projects along. That's all I have here.
It doesn't seem like anybody else, but it would be interesting, just publicly, if you have it in your head, and if not, that's okay, but the amount of monies that's included in our sixth fund, that amount of monies to complete those projects that have been approved, and then how much of that do we have through grants?
So this current 6-year plan would take about it would require about $108 million.
Can you say that a little bit louder, please?
This plan itself would cost $108 million. Now, generally, although it is called a 6-year plan, that's very aspirational, and it's this is dependent of that 106 or 108 million to get approximately to try to be able to achieve about 80 million in grants. So that'd be the goal. We try to identify projects that may be eligible for different grant sources in here, but typically we don't quite. We're not close to getting all these done in a 6-year period, but we have been fairly successful with grants in the past. Since incorporation, we are over 80 million in grants we've received for transportation projects.
So you're saying about 80 million or so out of these here. So what were the other 100 million, potentially 100 million, will come from?
That would be identified from local funds. No, not the other. There'd be 20 million. If we had 80 million, 20 million would be local funds, theoretically.
Got it. Okay.
On average, depending on the grant source, some are 13.5%, some are 25 to 30%. So we have it try to be conservative about a 20% match for these.
Okay. The only reason I wanted to just publicly talk about this because I don't think the public, even sometimes ourselves, will forget the amount of monies that are involved. And when we speak about the amount of monies, it comes from so many different pockets and different grants, and that's a lot of work, a lot of heavy lifting in trying to secure those grants. And you can only get those grants if you fill out the applications correctly, and those applications are like sometimes this thick. So congratulations on continuing to move forward with all these projects. I wish us all the best as a city for our citizens to literally be able to secure that and do that. We understand that things will change for sure, and not all of it will be done, but certainly it's nice to be assertive and going out there and doing whatever we can. And if we fall short of 100%, so we're good. Okay, thank you very much. And now we'll go into a vote. I'll just, since it's, go for a all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Thank you. Okay, unanimously approved. So we'll move on to item number 8, and that is the city manager and council comments and reports. And we'll start with Mr. Steve Sugg, our city manager.
Okay, thank you, Mayor, Council. It was maybe 10 days ago we had a large event here. Staff, council staff, it was a great team putting that together, and execution was really, really good. Just appreciate the support the council gave staff, and also for the work that staff did too, along with we have some great contractors and vendors, the whole team, and it was a really good community event, and I think it will be a memorable one for many. So that was my report. Thank you.
Thank you. And we'll start with Councilmember Grassi, if you don't mind.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd love
You're
to.
welcome.
It's great. Great to start. Great to be back with everyone. So thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for those that are here in chambers tonight. I'll start with most recent. I just want to say thank you to our educators in the University Place School District. I got some time with them today at the district office and at Curtis High School and a couple of our elementary schools in the district today, talking to the educators, bringing them donuts, congratulating them on the start of the school year. And so we have just first-class educators in our city, and so I just want to thank them publicly for what they do for our students and the difference that they're making in our community. I wouldn't be where I am without great educators, one that is here in the room tonight, so I know how important that is. And then also just to remind, safety in those school zones. I know at those watching, summer is over and we are back, have those kiddos. And Jack and his team are doing such a great job. So many construction projects around the city that make it a little difficult to navigate, especially kiddos getting back to school. So we're all going to have patience and navigate those roads to keep our kids safe. But thank you to our schools, and it was wonderful to be with those leaders today. Also want to echo the 30th birthday celebration staff that put in hours and time, and you scheduled your vacations around this event for our community, and you are just labored so diligently for so long to make it an excellent, safe event, quality event for our community. And what an exciting time to see 30 years come together. So thank you. It was wonderful to be there. I loved co-hosting with Councilmember Boykin on the main stage. That was the highlight for sure. But Marion and the team and everyone, to schedule your summer around to make that happen for our community is truly just wonderful. And I heard from so many people that loved the opportunity to be with their neighbors. And our summer was bigger than ever before in our city. We had our farmers market, summer concerts, cider squeeze, music on the square, the 30th birthday, movie in the park. And every event was done with class, excellence. Everyone was safe. And that takes a huge collaborative effort, but nothing like the 30th. We'll always remember that. So thank you to each and everyone. Thank you to our citizens for making that happen and for participating. And then finally, our inclusive playground, we finally officially cut the ribbon on that last week, and it was such a joy to be there and see families. And I know our families have been enjoying this for quite a while, but again, Jack, your team made that possible. One of our park commissioners is here this evening. You were so instrumental in making that happen, so thank you and your team. And it's a gem. It's a new gem in our city. It was great to officially welcome it. So that is all I have for this evening. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Flittman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think people are going to hear broken records tonight, but that's okay. First, PCRC did not meet, so I have nothing new to report to the council on that. I do want to echo a lot of the comments regarding the 30th birthday. I had the opportunity, although I was not able to make the ribbon cutting for that. That project turned out amazing. During the 30th birthday, I had a chance to walk through it and kind of feel it and touch it. And that's going to be just a gem in that park for eons to come. I do want to really echo the sentiments of so many people on the 30th birthday. You're going to hear it over and over again. We hit that one out of the park. I mean, kudos to everyone who pulled that off. It's been nothing but positive. People who didn't make it, I heard folks tell me that they were sorry, they regretted it. They got to see pictures from friends and neighbors and what have you. It was excellent. I think the last time I saw something that amazing was on the day we incorporated this city. I don't know for those who were around at that time. The only thing that was missing out of this year that we had back then was the public's opportunity to dunk the council in dunk tanks. Steve, I don't know if you remember that or not. That was pretty awesome. And we dunked the city manager at the same time too. To Councilmember Grassi's point, it reminds me that this city is alive. I mean, it is absolutely buzzing. And when we talk about the old cliche, we're open for business, we are definitely open for business. You look at the businesses that showed up at the celebration, you look at our new businesses that we've welcomed to this city over this past year, it has been nothing short of amazing. So just kudos. The one thing I did hear repeatedly while I was at that celebration was people want to see that happen again next year and year after and year after. Maybe a scaled back version of that, but people want to see that because what they said is it's the one event that really pulled the community together. So with that said, I'm planting that seed with the city manager. I do, since I've got the podium right now, or the dais, I do want to acknowledge Mr. Stevens' concerns that he raised tonight, and think that, you know, a word to our leadership at the city. You know, we exist for the purpose of serving our citizens, and, you know, when a citizen reaches out to us, I think we owe it to them to at least respond. I know life is busy, and I know you guys are doing amazing things, but I'm just imploring that if a citizen reaches out to us, it's because, if you think about it, they're reaching out because they don't know what else to do or where else to go, and they're just looking for someone who at least listen to them. So I'm going to ask that when citizens reach out to the city leadership or to, as council, we respond typically, but when they reach out to leadership, that we at least make the effort to acknowledge that, respond, and to listen. So with that, I will yield, and thank you very much.
Councilmember, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. So a few things. It's been a while since we last met as a council, so a few things I would like to acknowledge is first, I was able to represent the city at the Asia Pacific Center grand opening of their new facility over in Tacoma, and that was an amazing event, and it's an amazing building. If you haven't had a chance to walk through it, I suggest you do. It's actually got a little section for each of the communities represented across the Pacific and Asia, and it's a really neat facility, and I'm impressed with what they're able to put together. Also represented the city along with the mayor at the 16th Combat Aviation Brigade Ball last month. That was also a fun event. It was all the way down to Shelton, so we didn't stay all that long, but it was nice to be there and you know, just and acknowledge the partnership between the 16th Combat Aviation Brigade and the city. And it seems like forever ago, National Night Out. That was actually after our last council meeting that we had here, and I just want to say, speaking of building community, going around visiting all the different neighborhoods, just talking to our citizens who are out there, meeting each other and building community at the grassroots level. It's a great event every year. I'm impressed with everybody who puts stuff out, who puts the work in to make that kind of event happen. And so thank you, and Chief, thank you to your team for being out there putting that together as well. And then finally, I represent the city on the, it's now called, what used to be called the Pierce County Climate Conversation is now called the Alliance for Sustainable Climate Action, ASCA. There's going to be a letter coming out from that organization that we've been going through, going to all the cities and communities to try and get participation in this new organization, which is going to be a little different. The climate conversation was just that. It was a conversation. They had guest speakers come in and talk about tree canopy and sea level rise and things like that. It was really focused on education. This group is now going to be more focused on, one, establishing goals. It's still brand new. But the goals will right now intend to include a legislative agenda, a more focused effort on seeking funding sources to work on projects that relate to climate. And they're still going to continue the education process. At the next meeting, they're going to have somebody coming in and talking about wildfire preparedness for communities, because that is a big issue for a lot of folks around Pierce County. More to follow on that as it goes along, but that's where we're at right now. And I believe our next meeting is later this month, and it's meet quarterly, and we'll be talking more about going forward from there. And other than that, happy 30th birthday, city, and happy to be here. Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome. Okay, Councilmember Boykin.
Thank you, Mayor. Let me first start with the things that weren't nearly as much fun, but absolutely critical for engagement. Certainly got the opportunity to host, I shouldn't say host, but I got an opportunity to represent the city relative to the World Cup Summit. And even though it was a vast collection of leadership across the state that really honed in on an amazing event that is certainly on task for us next year. The exciting thing for me is that I recognize just how much the economic impact is going to be, not just for the state, but it's certainly going to trickle into the city of University Place if I have anything to do with it. And I'm excited about what that means and just really appreciative about the invitation and the effort. Also wanted to acknowledge, since it's been a while, the National Night Out effort. Didn't get an opportunity to participate in that as I was involved in the AWC, Association of Washington Cities workshop. And that was a really good two-day workshop that really affirmed some aspects around budgeting, which was really important to me, and excited about that, but the trade-off was not being able to participate as I had hoped with National Night Out. Wanted to also give some space to really Steve Worthington's resignation. It is not easy to serve in the public space oftentimes, and if you think about the challenges that are in the space across the country and certainly locally, you have a real appreciation for work that has been done and impacts that have been felt, and even leadership and collaboration that has come about that has lifted the city of University Place. So no small thing, as we all know, and just appreciative of his work, and wanted to make sure, since I had an opportunity to exclusively acknowledge that, wanted to do so. And then the last thing I wanted to make sure I called out differently was the impact regarding the inclusive playground. That ribbon cutting was amazing. However, what really made it heartfelt for me was remarks by Councilmember Grassi. So I didn't want that to go without being acknowledged. There was clearly an expectation where people drew a little closer into the space based upon those comments, and I really thought that they hit in a fashion that reminded us about inclusivity, period, is something that I believe often we ought to always look for. But most importantly, one of the things that I believe this playground does, it models that for us, because all abilities, all persons are expected to not only engage, but to play together, as well as the expectation that we all have a model and a North Star that we should be paying attention to. So I really appreciate that. Beyond that, without trying to be redundant, the things that were called out as absolutely fun. The Music on the Square, the Apple Orchard music series, the expectation around the birthday bash for us in our 30th anniversary. I cannot tell you in the right words just how enthusiastic I was about being able to see our city demonstrate what it means to be a city of destination. I said earlier about the projects and the leadership that had been called out when it came to our 6-year transportation budget. I also called out the expectation of economic development in the city is really how we move the impact of the city of University Place. And in that regard, we are moving. So when I think about those things, and that the city of University Place provided a wonderful summer of family-centric events, there is an easy way for you to be excited about something. So you pick the event that moved you the most. I can tell you that all of it was very impactful for me. So just wanted to thank again the hard work that went into all those events. Want to really appreciate the city of University Place and the residents and citizens that got a chance to participate in those things. And I just really hope that you don't miss that there's a lot of cities that you could be around when you do have an opportunity to come and invest in the experiences that the city of University Place very intentionally create for you. I don't think we disappoint. Really excited about what that means, and I really hope that you look back on this summer in particular as a really difference maker in terms of positivity for your lives and for your economic vitality. Thanks so much, Mayor.
Okay. Finally, Mayor's remarks here, and I think that I did attend in the TOA conference, and for the first time, I've attended quite a few, but the first time that we've had a lot of policy discussions, huge, and it went really deep on these discussions. And it was all around, a major part of that was where are cities going with less revenue coming from cable revenues? And we've seen it ourselves in our budget. So I won't go into all the details, but certainly a discussion with staff, with our communications director, who is part of all that, but also our Rainier Commission executive director, to have a conversation. Where is that the service going, and to what degree and the time in the future that it might not be there, and what are we going to do, and start thinking and planning in advance. But it's a serious discussion that went on and on quite a bit about a lot of the cities just losing revenue. They're trying to either sue, change legislation, or like what Rainier Commission has done is send out an RFP for to do it. I don't want to call it a study, but a look at if the cable companies have, like Comcast has, actually provided us with all the revenue that we're supposed to have gotten the past 5 or 10 years to see if we can recoup. I think that all is wishful. I think we need to have a different model, and that's what we need to talk about. Moving on to another one that I attended last week was the Bridgeport Assisted Living, which is on Bridgeport, 25th anniversary, long time, and that was they really put out a nice little celebration. The oldest person there was 102 years old. The average was about 92, and they were all pretty happy outside. It drizzled a little bit, but they were all okay, and I got a chance to speak to almost every one of them individually, and they were very smiling and clapping as I made my remarks about welcoming them to be in. A lot of them were from Germany, all over the country, and here they are in University Place, so I did welcome them. 30th year anniversary. One of the main things I'm super happy, and I think everybody here in this council remembers, I don't know if we can get that curtain down, but I'm being blind again. Oh, we can't. Okay.
Yeah, they can. This one right here.
Yeah. So I talked about public safety, and I know if that's all we can do, I'll manage. So I talked about public safety and the importance of citizens being really feeling safe at a big event like this with all kinds of people, thousands of people in there. And I got around quite a bit. And when I went home, my legs were weak. But I did talk to tons of people. The one question I asked them, how do you feel about being here on the safe side? You feel safe roaming around here? They said, this is really, they liked it. And you could see the presence. And the other thing I would comment, whoever's listening, is our citizens and our guests that arrived were about as pleasant, as clean. I don't know if you noticed, but there wasn't much trash out there all over the place. People pretty much picked up after themselves, which is really pretty cool. Between that and our staff and those who were responsible for that, it's nothing like having thousands of people a whole day and seeing the place just trashy all over the place. So I thought that being safe, a clean environment, people behaving, even the youth, that's quite a few young people and kids around there, but it seems like nobody was just being rude and out of place. So I thought it was a very exceptional behavior, positive behavior among all our attendees. I'm glad for that. I do have to comment for our MCs, Councilmember Grassi and Boykin. I'm telling you guys, I mentioned that when we thought about having an outside MC, and I know that always will cost us. And I said, why do we need to pay anybody when we have two excellent council members here that can do just that job?
Let's not be hasty, Mayor.
Pardon me?
Our honorarian will be, we're still billing.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're totally in our invoice
no
right now.
extra hazardous duty here. But, why not?
It was
I
great.
mean, we're here to do those kind of jobs, and we had the talent. Anytime we have, it's just like, I've facilitated some of our retreats because I didn't know why couldn't we behave and facilitate as a mayor instead of paying a facilitator, $15,000 when we can do it. It just didn't make any sense. Same thing with the MCs, and you guys hit it out of the ballpark, really. Great job, thank you. And then along with Mayor Pro Tem, 16 Cab, they just love us. We show up. We really do. I've attended as mayor, other events on base, and I can tell you right now, UP is one of the people that actually show up to many of these events. So it's noticeable, and I know the 16 Cab Commander and other senior leaders there notice too. And they talk about it. So we've represented ourselves well with the 16 Cap, and they're a very proud unit to be our partner. And then lastly is the National Night Out. I do ask people, what do you see not right in UP? I wanted out of them, and I couldn't get anything out, even when I asked them. All the guy was just, you guys are doing a lot of things right. And I'm serious. I think I had like 7 or 8 neighborhoods. And I asked every one of them, I said, what do you guys think where we need to improve? What have we done wrong? We need to know. Now, when you can do that and not get bombarded with anything, I don't know what that means, but I think it means that they're happy. They're happy with our public safety. They're happy with our parks, recreation. They're happy in how they're being treated. Yes, we may miss the mark on some street, and like the gentleman was here, we may miss something at the permit counter, or someone didn't just say the right word. But if you look at the amount of time spent with citizens in the various ways in our city government, wow. If you're looking at just a handful, I don't know about you, but I consider that a real win and not a problematic government or administration here. So overall, good food, good company, happy people, and we have to thank the fire district for participation in our deputies, but the fire district and how they participate they've been a crucial partner with us in so many events that I don't know, we should send them a letter. We should just all have a thank you letter to the board and to the chief, and we all sign it. I think, maybe it's just a little thing, but sometimes little things really mean a lot. And I don't know the last time we ever said thank you for what they do. And that's my last comment. And we'll move on and go to our study session. And our first study session is item number 9, Park and Meter Report. And our staff, Jack Eklund, our Public Works Director, will be presenting.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and City Council. I'm Jack Eklund, Public Works Director, and also I have up with me Kevin Brisky, our Development Services and Economic Development Director. And we're just going to bring to you a study, kind of a update report on our, I'm sorry?
I'm going to take a mayor's privilege. I have to reverse myself just a little bit.
Okay.
Thank you to our city clerk keeping me on line here. But as we said, as part of the council policy to provide proclamations ahead of time to make sure that there's no objections. And we do have 4 that has been submitted. And I'd like to go through them, and then if there's any objections, please say so. We can, if not, then we'll move on to schedule them for a presentation. The first one is an Indigenous Peoples Day proclamation. Any objection to that? Okay.
I prefer Native American as a...
Well, no, that's this on this.
I hear you. I'm just telling you my opinion.
Well, that's next.
Oh, okay.
Okay, let me just finish.
I like
it. Okay, so second is the Native American Heritage Month proclamation.
Okay.
Any objection?
No.
Thank you. Do you just want one, or two is okay?
I'll take them
Okay.
all.
Oh, by the way, the Indigenous Peoples Day proclamation is October the 6th, that's scheduled, and the Native American Heritage Month proclamation is November the 3rd, just to let you know. Then the third one is Sydney Davis recognition to be announced, and she's part of our law enforcement person that's gone through, done some it achieved certain things. I won't go through it, but it's a recognition for Sydney Davis, which is a law enforcement recognition. And the last one is what I talked about earlier, and that is the Bridgeport Place 25th anniversary recognition. And I am asking for approval on that because, 25 years is a pretty good, it's just like Trader Joe's. We give them a recognition. And as important is that they take care of our seniors. I mean, we are lacking, our society is lacking places for seniors to go. A nice place, clean place, trustworthy place to go and be treated fairly in their last years of life. And very few, and we need more. So for them to be here for 25 years, I really would like to give them a recognition. Any objection? Okay. So, Emmy, we'll figure that out as far as scheduling those. And now, study session. Thank you, Mr. Eklund.
All right, thank you. So, as I mentioned, we are doing a kind of a touch base on how the parking meter implementation has gone out here at along Marketplace. So, these are just kind of reminders where we're at. So we started this just about a year ago today. It actually September 1st of 2024 is when we launched the meters went live out there. We have a rate of $1 an hour that hasn't changed. We allow 3 payment options, both for the Pay by Phone app, by credit card, and by coin. And then the overall goal, this was, parking meters have been requested by the businesses, and we want to provide turnaround, turnover of the spots and available parking to support the businesses, and we have a goal of at a maximum occupancy rate of 75% in general is kind of the rule of thumb of what we're trying to achieve. So we've done a couple things in looking at this. First thing we've done is we've done both an occupancy and compliance rate study. We did this year between March, so we did March, April, May, and June. Looked at both the occupancy rates of the spaces as well as what are the compliance with the parking meters. One thing I think is important to note that we stopped at June because in June, after that, we had the construction going on Lot 3, which took out a fair amount of the parking stalls with construction. So we didn't want to kind of throw stuff in the data that wasn't normal operating type of situations. The study, we took generally random observations between throughout the day, so took samples of different times of day between 11:30 and 4:30. The study found we're currently getting an average occupancy rate of just over 60%, and we're getting about an average compliance rate of 33%. So only about a third of the people parking are paying for parking, but we are getting the available parking that we're trying to get, so we can get folks can park if they want to out there. Now the next thing we've also looked at is a financial study. And in looking at financial study, we looked at sales tax data. Now we can only look at sales tax data in aggregate. We can't talk about specific businesses or anything like that. We're not allowed to by state law to do that. But in general, we wanted to compare a comparable time period when the meters were on versus when they weren't on. The most recent data we're able to get is through May of this year. So we looked at a period of time between January and May of 25, and then also January and May of 24, compared the two. One thing to note with this is During that time frame, we did notice citywide a decrease of sales tax. So we collected less sales tax citywide in 25 during in that time period as compared to what we did in January or in 24. Along Marketplace, however, we did see a a little bit over 8% increase in sales tax generation. Now, I don't know that we can take 100% credit for that from with the parking meters that they're increasing business, but I think it at least is a strong sign that it wasn't hurting businesses was the main concern. But it is important to note that it is. I wanted to give the relative background of what was going on in the rest of the city at that same time. So we do have one of the challenges in comparing that time frame, of course, is we've had, some businesses had been in business in 24 that weren't in 25, and we had new businesses in 25 that weren't there in 24. So it's not entirely apples to apples, but overall, I can say, in general, if we, when we looked at existing businesses that were in both times, we did still see an increase. And the next thing is just kind of looking at what the revenue was collected. So the overall money collected through the various sources was about $28,000 for the. This is from basically lifetime of the meters. Now the actual revenue is much less because our net revenue for them is just over $5,000, and that's because with each we keep our rates very low, and so so much of each individual rate, especially when you're doing it via app or credit card, you have a service and transaction fee, and so when we're only charging $1, or sometimes people are paying 50 cents to only be there for a half hour, your fee is almost 50 cents. So there's a lot of what gets collected is taken in fees, which ultimately is okay because, as we mentioned when we first talked about this, this is not, the goal of the meters was not a major revenue source, right? This was not a money grab. This was parking demand management tool to make sure we had available spaces when somebody wants to go visit a business, they can pull up and they don't have to drive around. The other thing we note in this, not just revenue, but just in parking availability, is we do have free parking entirely in the garage, and so we are seeing throughout this time period an increase of use of the garage as well. Now, of the different sources, we are finding that by far the most popular way to pay for your parking is the app. About 64% of the people are paying by the app. About 23% are paying by credit card, and then about 13% are paying by coin, which, unfortunately, that is the only one we don't have a fee on. That one we get, but it's also it's more just. Overall, it is. We want the options and convenience, and it is. They're finding this nationally too. The pay by phone, the app is, or some other type of app, are where people are going toward, and it is much more convenient for folks to use. But it also comes with the highest fees and stuff that come back to us. We have made a point, though, in each of these that we do not assess an additional fee. So if you're paying by credit card or coin or pay by phone, it's still $1 an hour. We don't add those fees on to the user, because ultimately, like I said, we're trying to get the parking turnover, not necessarily become rich on parking meters. So kind of conclusion from that, it does look like we are getting the turnover we want. It is some of the troubling stats are we are seeing that compliance rate go down, and we have taken a pretty soft approach at enforcement to date. We do issue some warnings. We've issued a little over 8. Is that 8 or 6? 500, around 600 warnings to people. We have noticed some vehicles Vehicles, there have been 18 individual vehicles that have received over 3 warnings, and we've had one vehicle by themselves receive 14 warnings. And so we will need to, we don't want to come heavy-handed on enforcement, but also we do have to need to get some compliance. And somebody blatantly disregarding and 14 times is pretty ridiculous, and even handful of times is not good. So we will need to start doing that in the months to come. Likely that will increase the compliance rate, but I do not recommend making any adjustments to our rates, because I think it's important that we maintain that as a very reasonable rate to maintain the parking turnover and availability, and we're meeting that. So other than that, I think we just ask any questions. I've asked Kevin to join us here because he's had some conversations with the businesses, and overall they've been very happy with how things are going. But any questions you have for us, we'd be happy to field for you.
Councilmember Fleming.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And Jack, thank you for that update, and likewise for Kevin, who was very quiet during that. But I do have a series of questions, because I went back and pulled my notes from when this first went into, when the council first entertained it, and then when we passed it on there. And one of the things that we were assured at that time was that we would recover our cost. And as I recall, the cost for installation of those parking meters was over $100,000, or somewhere in that neighborhood. What is our current plan if we're only generating on revenue roughly $5,000 in 2 years, it looks like? What's our recovery plan for that?
If you look at the so 2024 had that did operate as a loss in 24, partly because you had to pay the annual fee for the services, whether it's the credit card fee or the pay by phone fee. So that was a third of a year, but still paying for a full cost, so you had less revenue there to offset it. In 25, we're on target to probably get make about $12,000 this year. Another thing we did adjust between 24 and 25 is we did restrict pay by phone app to a minimum of an hour. So if you're paying by pay by phone, you need to pay a minimum of the hour, because we didn't want to be losing money. So because if it were being 50 cents, our fee, I think, for pay by phone was like 64 cents. And so we need to make sure we're, like I said, we're not going for a huge revenue, but we also aren't going for, this isn't a social service kind of thing. So that's where we're seeing the increase. I do think with some targeted enforcement, you will get a little bit more revenue payback, but ultimately we're about $12,000 a year. We had budgeted the $100,000. Ultimately, the cost came in at about $50,000, right? And so, based on that, about a 5-year payback plan is what we would envision.
Okay. And then with the 1/3 of the parking that's being paid for, that seems really low. So you think that with your new plan of the light, we'll call it light enforcement, that you'll get 2/3?
That would be the goal is get better better participation, and ultimately we'd like voluntary participation, because I'm not super interested in issuing a lot of fines to folks, but the goal would be to get at least that number for sure.
What is the current fine for over parking?
Right now it's $25.
So if you do the math, you still are not catching up. Is that right?
On the
fine.
If you gave a $25 fee to folks,
yeah. We're still not getting to a break even.
Well, we're already break even with 30. What do you mean? You mean per year or
annually?
So we are positive every year. We're looking at over 12,000 probably this year is what our anticipated revenue this year. Now, ultimately we do, want to pay back the meters and so forth, which I said, 5 or hopefully less than that if we can get better compliance. Tickets do increase your revenue a little bit, but ultimately our goal is that availability of parking.
Okay, so you think they'll make a difference then with the $25 fine?
It should, although we certainly, I would recommend, kind of revisiting this again, after maybe next year at this time to kind of see now that we've implemented fines, what's our utilization rate and that sort of thing. And then we can kind of take the temperature at that time as well.
Yeah, I think it's worth revisiting also, so I agree with that. When we did the sales tax, you said we have an 8% increase in the town center. Does that include the Whole Foods also?
It does not. We excluded them. We only use the businesses that are fronting the meters. Mm-hmm. And so Whole Foods itself is such a big generator. Now they do very well and hit their numbers and continue to grow. And so I didn't want that to throw off what's the effect of the local businesses along the street. Awesome. So they're not part of it.
Okay, thank you. And then lastly, what's our, from the time we implemented this program, what's our turnover rate in town center of businesses?
I believe we've had, since we've implemented it, I don't know it's been necessarily, I know we've had 4 new businesses start. I know from 24, that time period that we looked at, but that was May, so there could be a gap between, May and September when we started. I think there were 3 or 4 businesses that are no longer there. 3. So it's we've had, I guess, slight growth by 1.
Okay.
But
and what's our total number of businesses in town center?
I don't know. I don't have that.
Give me a second.
Okay.
I'm just thinking in my head.
Will that be in our next study session economic development report?
That's citywide businesses in the economic development report.
Okay.
I'm guessing we have like about 30 businesses, I think, right now.
In town center?
I don't have the number off the top of my head. If I can start adding them in my head, if I give me a few seconds. But yeah, I'd say there's close to 25 to 30.
That's impressive.
Including Whole Foods and then through to the other end.
Okay, so that's not bad. It's a 12% turnover rate, so.
Yeah, there's been a few, and it's some left before the meters, or were already in the process of leaving as the meters went in. The Naturepedic store that got replaced by Essential Pantry, who was very happy with the meters, and it was one of the I wouldn't say reasons they came because they liked the overall development, mm-hmm. but they liked the fact that now when they showed up and looked, there was available stalls out front that people could pop in and shop there. So we've had a few turnover spots like that. The OMG Pho replaced Gallows during this time as well, and the meters were already there, and that was one of the reasons that I think they would have taken the spot as well, because they had availability of parking now for customers instead of them being full 100% of the day with not just customers, but employees, residents of the apartments, and so forth.
My last question, then I'm going to yield here. I recall we had some issues with the urgent care. Have those been addressed and resolved?
Yes, we met with them multiple times right before and right after the meters were implemented. I still believe they still have some concerns. However, they are doing well overall. They're very successful. They're seeing over 100 patients a day. That's their number 2 location that they have out of, I think, 9 in the county or maybe multi-county area. Okay. They are
they now have spots available. And one thing to note for not only the urgent care, but for anybody with meters, we have the ADA stalls out there that are very close. We have some ADA stalls very close to the urgent care that are not metered. And if you have an ADA placard by state law, you do not have to pay in a meter, and that applies not just here in the city, but anywhere.
Okay, great. Hey, thank you all very much.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem Wood.
Well, thank you, Mayor. First, I really appreciate your effort to try and quantify how this program is going. As you're well aware, I was pretty skeptical up front, and I still hear complaints from citizens about having parking meters out there because they don't like them. And I try and explain to them this is, to support local business, to increase turnover, and they give me the yeah, thank you, I still hate parking meters. But anyway, having said that, you did bring up some very good points here, and I would encourage the city staff to put this out in a communication to the public about the parking meters, why, again, just reiterate why they're in place, what's this costing the city, why we are doing it, and just reiterate with them why they're there. Because I think it's important that they understand that because most people look at parking meters, well, it just looks like a money grab of some kind when it really isn't, and that's not the intent. And anything you can get put in there, if you've got a local businesses that would be willing to, come out and say, hey, we support this, that would be helpful as well, too. So, thank you, Mayor.
Okay, Councilmember Boykin.
Thank you, Mayor. Let me just affirm the comment that Mayor Pro Tem just made, and I think it's very timely. Let me just also reiterate that Councilmember Fleming had said that as I checked my notes, I really wanted to inquire about a couple of things, and that really speaks to here's the opportunity to not just assess how good a job we did, but most importantly to tell that story. And so if we don't, we run the risk of the challenges that not only Mayor Pro Tem talked about, but also the experiences that I've had, which have been intentional. And let me be really clear about that. It's going to those businesses, asking them how they're doing, not alluding to anything about whether or not the meters may be impactful or that we may be looking to see how it's impacting their business. And they do get around to it. But I would think they would, not just because of impacts first, but it's novelty at this point. And so I really want to just say we need to tell that story. We need to be really clear about what the intent was. We need to bring in the comprehensive expectation, that even the consideration, as was reminded by Councilmember Fleming, urgent care, so that the community sees, business sees, residents sees how it is that the council is responding and how the council is proactively looking to utilize not just staff, but the leadership within staff ranks to bring about the outcomes that we want to see. Because it's never a money grab, but the thought process of people having that is as a notion, it makes sense until we tell the proper story. So just really wanted to affirm that. With that, I wanted to see that also in the spirit of recognizing that University Place and how we collectively work together brings about this expectations I constantly like to phrase, city of destination by intent. When it comes to the compliance piece, where we are clearly only a third of the folks being responsive, not unusual, but what is unusual to me as I'm listening to the story is the efforts that we described as somewhat soft in terms of our response, and then I hear 600 notices. Then I also hear, we've got folks, good, bad, and different, with 14 double-digit citations. So maybe if it is soft, I'm scared of what it would be if it was softer. We're not trying to push the expectation of getting in people's pockets prematurely, but we certainly want to make sure that we are on the same page of offering people a responsible governance, as well as the expectation that we are encouraged by their good behavior. And if it's not the behavior that we want to see, it's not first and affront to the city. It's the front to the other people who make up the city. So we've got a responsibility and opportunity here, and so I just hope that we'll take a look at the ways in which we can just encourage that. I think, again, it starts with telling the story clearly, often, and well communicatively. Also wanted to ask a question about really the impacts around those percentages of how you can pay when it comes to the meter engagement. If we've got true numbers behind it, I saw the percentages, but do we have the numbers, to Mayor Pro Tem's point?
Dollar amounts?
Dollar amounts, no, I'm really looking at incidences, the number of engagement that created those percentages that tell people about how the engagement, because that's another part of the story that really helps business owners and other residents see how effective this program is and what the whole goal was. This was only designed to make sure that there was opportunities for people who had intentions of patronizing businesses as a priority, that they were being met with an experience that said, here's a place for your vehicle. We've got a free garage that provides an opportunity for your vehicle that's safe and ensures that it's also convenient. But there's an intentionality behind those businesses. If we don't tell that story very clearly, we really miss what I think business owners as well as residents get a chance to understand what we're collectively doing. And when there's a compliance piece, good, bad, and different, that has been measured in terms of not trying to be too punitive, at the same time, we're mindful that there's a significant number of activity in terms of citations, if you will, that's been offered. These stories, as well as we can tell them, I just can't overemphasize that, helps people understand what we're trying to do. And I really still believe that people want to be part of a solution and they want to be part of a good thing. And if they see these things in front of them, an early path to connect with it, I think that's our job, to help them get there, and I think we can win as a result. So the last thing that I had was I appreciate the expectation of we not being so quick to provide tickets, but I'm excited about us making sure that we don't miss the opportunity for a warning, because sometimes good, bad, and different, people move because they get a positive impact, and sometimes they move because they, good, bad, and different, got a negative impact. So just food for thought, but I'm really appreciative about us being able to tell a story, it being a marked opportunity to ensure that people understand what the intent was and really what the good news is. This has been successful. Sorry, one more question. The scenario regarding the optimum way in which if our stalls were turning at the optimum rate, what was that percentage? Was that 75% of the stalls?
That would be the maximum capacity we're targeting, yeah.
And we're approximately at 60 at this point?
On average, it's probably, right now, I would say it's heavier than that because of that big chunk of parking that's being taken out by the construction. But when we had, when that wasn't there, we were at 60%. Now, when that building opens up, that probably will drive us closer to the 75.
Okay.
Just because you had that block that's being taken care of over by the parking or the construction was, a little bit of overflow for, say, the Mod Pizza or the Five Guys or the Urban Float or the things on that end of the business there.
I appreciate it. So I'm not a betting man. I'm going to presume you're not either. But it sounds like we're moving in the direction that would make us be appreciative that the expectation of a 75% optimum, we're going to be there closer than not. And generally speaking, as we look back, particularly whether it's 5 years or less than that, and we've got good reason to expect that, again, if we tell our story, people will be that much more responsive to help us get there. So again, good stuff. Thanks so much for what you've done. Thank you so much, Kevin, again, for making it easy for me to go into businesses and get those stories firsthand. And they tell me, well, hey, Kevin was just here. So I think that's pretty cool. So thank you so much. I apologize for informality, but I just wanted to make sure you know that people notice it and they talk and they are really comfortable in telling us what we are doing, right, wrong, or indifferent. So I appreciate that. That's all I have, Mayor.
All right. Councilmember Grassi.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Before on my comment, Councilmember Boykin's point on telling this story, I don't think that we did a State of the City this last year. Did you film a State of the City for Communications Department? Which I don't know why that was missed, but I do think this would be a great item to add that to this year's State of the City. I hope that we can have that implemented again through our communications department. So that's just a note for staff. I think it's a great, comprehensive way to end the year. And I think to Councilmember Boykin's point, this is an important story to tell as far as increase what we're doing for our businesses. So, but I would also like to see that return. You covered my urgent care questions. Thank you, Councilmember Fleming, for doing that. Question about last time we met, we hadn't used Pierce County Security for enforcement yet. How is that going for the enforcement personnel and patrol? Has that increased our contract with them? Have we had, I'm kind of curious how that's operating.
So right now, so Pierce County Security is doing the issuing the warnings. And it hasn't increased our cost at all. They're able to do that
within our contract
periodically with the time. On average, we've been issuing warnings about, was it 6 days a month? You know, or I mean, they're doing it not at a set time, you know, but that's kind of also, speaking to Councilor Boykins, we're not, I don't want to see a sea of citations or warnings or whatever out there at any given time, right? Our goal is to get more voluntary compliance, but we want enough notice to folks to, you know, remind them they should be paying the fee. But yeah, so that hasn't impacted our cost for that.
So they're only issuing 6 days a month total?
That's just on average.
Okay.
It would be, yeah, so since we began. So some months were higher and lower, but that's
600 total.
That's the day, in general,
6 days
days
a
they're
month.
doing warnings.
And the general 6 days a month has given us this almost 600 total
Yes.
warnings. Is that
Warnings,
okay?
yeah.
Okay. And so they're just working that into their schedule already.
Yep.
With us.
Yep.
That's not increasing the time. How is that time spent also patrolling the garage? Because I have heard from residents that are concerned about safety in the garage, and I see at various times the patrol, but I'm wondering how is that hindered time being present for security in the garage and how we're handling that as well.
It actually, right now, the personnel that are doing the citations are the personnel that are sitting in the atrium.
Okay.
And so they're
different than the
periodically taking, and they don't necessarily, when they do their rounds, they don't necessarily go the whole thing at a given time. They might take a quarter of it and then go back to the desk for a while, and then go do another quarter and then do it back to the desk. And so it's generally kind of fluctuates time of day of when they do it, but it's the expectation isn't for them to like take an hour to go out, and it's more smaller segments.
Has anyone studied if they're going at the appropriate times to get that increased compliance rate to go up? Because it feels like possibly they're not. Just from the 38% that we're getting. I mean, is there a way to look at that and see if there's a better time that they could be using those enforcement hours?
I think right now the only thing that's going to increase your compliance is the actual fines, because we're seeing so many people getting multiple warnings and disregarding them. So unfortunately, that's it's not something I want to do or take lightly, but we're going to need to move to actual citations to people.
Okay. And then I haven't noticed, and Happy Do or others, do businesses have signs up reminding customers have they paid when they walk in there? Have you seen, Kevin? Or is that something that we could provide them for window clings or a simple, a reminder for them to?
We did provide window clings with information about the parking in the garage, where the free we have 15-minute stalls out there as well. We have 10, 15-minute stalls that are unmetered for the quick drop-off pickups, and directions for garage access for in effort. So we did provide window clings with all of that information, and
Okay.
I believe the window clings do have information on them, like how you can pay.
Okay.
We don't have we didn't provide any information that said, did you pay or.
Right. But just the information. We did so
Yes.
great when we were after COVID, where UP is open again, those signs. So I just wanted to make sure that we had a cohesive window clean out. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you. That's all I have, Mayor. Yep.
All right, thank you. My comments is that, as we all know, about, when was it, 2 years when we started study session, and there was tons of comments. I think we even went into 3 study sessions over this. And the primary comments were the council's, should we or shouldn't we? Should we start charging our citizens, putting even meters and start charging for parking? And there was a lot of discussion on that, and we had a lot of feelings about, are we going to be attacked because we're charging and we did this, and we were very sensitive, and I think that staff have done a very good job to be insensitive to our sensitivity about our citizens, being ticketed or whatever. So overall, this is our first report, detailed report, and considering our sensitivity, certainly if I was in your place, I probably would lean on the, caution side. As far as like you did, I think you did a good job at being cautious and not just start ticketing people without getting some feedback from the council about how we feel about, the violators. And I think you got the feedback. Hopefully that will support you to go to the next level based on this. Without that, I think it would have been dangerous because you don't know where our council is sometimes on all that. So I think that's all great. I think overall, I never got a complaint from anybody. Nobody called me and says, what are you doing? What's going on? I didn't see anybody coming forward in this whole time to the word council in a public meeting and said, this is awful, whatever the case may be. Even the violators, you warned one 16 times. He or she never came forward and all mad and complain. So I think that overall they understand. Some people just like to get away with it until you find them, and now you got our feedback, so hopefully it'll work out. I feel confident that we're going in the right direction on all this. The businesses have not complained. Yes, are there mishaps? There's going to be mishaps. Nothing's going to be to expect perfection out of this system. It will never happen if that's what you're looking for. But I think overall, I think it's a very good program. We're getting, we're not in the negative for the program. We're certainly going to have extra money after paying the cost for the yearly cost to get our money back on the parking meter. So, I don't have any complaints. I think you guys are doing the right thing. Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, so with that, let's move on to item number 10, Economic Development Report and Update. We have staff, Kevin Brisky, our Community and Economic Development Director, and Becky Metcalf, our Business Outreach Liaison.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. Kevin Brisky, the Community and Economic Development Director, here tonight with Becky Metcalf, the Business Outreach Liaison, and we've got a presentation kind of going over the community community profile and some other stats relating to that. Before I turn it over to Becky to kind of go over the slides we have here, just how many of you have visited a business this week in University Place? Hopefully everybody's been into one. How many of you have maybe ordered something online that you've had delivered to your house here at University Place? Well, with that, I'd like to thank you all. You helped participate in the economic development of the city. With that, I'll turn it over to Becky Metcalf.
Good evening.
that's okay.
Okay. Good evening, Mayor and council members. I just was struck by Council Members Fleming's statement when he was talking about what's going on in the city, and he said the city is alive. And I hope that you will see through this report tonight that one of the systems that helps keep the city alive is our economic development drivers, the businesses that we have. And I did a pretty deep dive into what our business community looks like and how we're growing, and I came away feeling very positive, and I certainly hope that you experience that with this report tonight as well. I just want to say, and I like to preface all my discussions about business license numbers with a reminder of what a business license number means. Oftentimes we make the mental mistake of equating one business license to one storefront out there. And it can be that. It can also be a business license for a hairdresser that rents a chair in a larger salon. And so there's a business license representing the hairdresser as well as an overall business license representing the salon. So I just like to express that caveat that we're looking at business license numbers, although oftentimes we revert to saying we have so and so many businesses in the city. We're referring to business license numbers. So I just like to present that information before I get started. So I'd like to give you a little bit of history about business licenses in University Place. Actually, if you also take time to go through the report that's in your agenda packet, you will note that our very first counting of businesses happened in 2005. And at that time, we had 706 businesses, and 20% of those were home-based. But when I actually look at numbers and present them to you, I like to start with 2011, and that's because that is a year that the city turned over our business licensing to the State Department of Licensing. What that has given us is a very consistent source for numbers. And at the time that we joined the Department of Licensing, it was optional. But since, I believe, a couple of years ago, now it is mandatory that all cities in the state do their business licensing through the State Department. So that gives us some confidence that we're picking up a lot more of the businesses that are out there. I want to point out a couple of items on this chart just because I think it's so interesting. In 2012, which is only a year after we went with the state, it was the first time that our home-based businesses overtook the number of non-home-based businesses we have in the city. And there are reasons for that, I believe. If you think about the kind of community we are, although we're starting to have a lot more commerce and business, we still, for a large part, are a residential community. And so I think people are always really surprised when they hear our total number of business licenses is 1,730. However, by this time, the number of home-based business licenses is 56% of that total. We of course all went through COVID together, and COVID played some games with our business license numbers, but I like to point to 2022 as the date in which our numbers begin to normalize a little bit. As we go through here, I'm going to show you some of the impacts that COVID had on those numbers. And then as of first quarter of 2025, we were at 1,730. So if you look at the time period from 2011 to 2025, we've experienced over 63% growth. So that's over 1,000 businesses in that time period, and I think any community would be proud to claim that. I do want to say I have been questioned before what's the right number of businesses we should have? And I have done research. I have called economic development organizations. And, their comment is there's really we don't have a table that says if you have 35,000 people living in your city, you should have this many businesses, because it depends so much on the population, your demographics there, what your geography is like. And so I just want to say at the start, there's not a normal. I think that we're going to look at, though, is normal for us.
Yep, that's correct.
Okay. Yes. So I want to talk a little bit about new business licenses to the city. If you look at this chart, this goes back to 2013, not 2011, because when we first started polling that information, we were a little disorganized and didn't pull down all of the information that we found helpful to have. So this goes back to 2013, but you can see a fairly steady growth of new business licenses in the city. Now, those 2 years that I have circled there in red, those are COVID impact years. And the interesting fact about that is that if you look down below to the actual number of new business licenses during those years, it's over 400. And that is way out of line of what we see in a usual year will be right around 250, 275. And we can probably all make assumptions about what happened there. People were locked down. And so many people decided, this is my opportunity. I'm going to start something from home. And so we saw those numbers explode a little bit. Additionally, what's not shown on here is terminations of business licenses. And I do want to speak a little bit about what happens when a business terminates. We find this out from the state as well. And once a quarter, I will go out to the State Department and download their numbers. I download new business license numbers for the quarter, terminations for the quarter, and then total active business licenses. The termination figure is difficult to really assume much with, because terminations can lag. When a business decides to close, especially if it's an emergency closing and they just need to be gone, I don't think their first thought is, I better call the state and ask them to terminate my license. And so what will happen is that license will stay active until it hits the end of its year. And following that, there's a 6-month grace period. And so not until a license is inactive up to that 6-month grace period does it appear as a terminated license for us. So sometimes, we see a business go away, but the business license will stay on our records for 9 or 10 months. And that's just, basically the process of how the state deals with the licenses. But also during those COVID years, the state decided to put a moratorium on the automatic termination of business licenses during those 2 years. The thought being that if a business is struggling, they're kind of quiet during those times, but they intend to continue business after the lockdown lets up. If we terminate their license, there's an extra cost to them to basically get a new license, is what they would have to do if they let their license terminate. And so that was a decision made by the state. And when we hit January of 2022, our rolls really cleaned out because the state went through and cleaned out those numbers. Just to give you an idea of what we do at the city with that information, when I get the listing of new business licenses, the first thing I do is send an email to every single one of those business entities that has received a license, welcoming them to the city, introducing myself, offering services that we can do, offering a ribbon cutting, offering someone just to come and meet with them and talk about doing business in the city. We get responses every quarter, I would say, from between 8 and 10 of those businesses, which I don't think is bad. I mean, they're busy opening their businesses. And then when we do get terminations, we send those business owners a letter, which most of the time gets returned. Because of the lagging issue, by the time we send the letter out, they may be long gone, but some do receive the letter, and there is a link to a survey that they can take. We want to do a little bit of an exit interview. We ask 4 questions to find out, how long were you in business in UP? Why did you close? And what was the most difficult thing for you about doing business, and what did you enjoy the most? And we have, I think the last time I checked, we have 2 responses on there. It's just hard to do an exit interview if you don't catch people right when they're going. I do try to, if I hear that a business is struggling, I will go out and meet with them. But, when it gets to that point, I've referred some businesses to work with the Small Business Association to get some mentorship. We try to do as much help as we can with that. So that's a little bit about what we do with how we find out about new businesses and then terminated businesses as well. Okay. So this is a graph of the way the business license numbers have increased since 2011. These are annual figures. I've tried to pull them all from the first quarter of the year. There's a couple of these that, because we couldn't find the first quarter numbers, I had to go to the second quarter. But this gives you a pretty good sense, and I have always said, because of the trends in terminations and what we are counting, that the best thing to do is look at the trend lines. And to me, to look at this graph, in 2011, we're at 1,059. In 2025, we're at 1,730. We have, there are, I think, 1 or 2 dips there. 2022 went down to 1,690, but again, you've got 2020 and 2021 as those COVID years that kind of bumped our numbers a little bit. So, and I do try to, when I do those, get those quarterly numbers, I put together a report that I share with Kevin, and I believe he shares with Steve, and eventually comes to you, showing you our numbers, and I report those quarterly, usually from about 2020 up until the present, and they're divided between home-based and storefront businesses as well.
And the reason, just real quick again, on the 2021 number, in 2020, right? 2021, the reason why that is higher is because that was the COVID year where the state wasn't terminating those business licenses. It took a while to get those out of the system. So you're better off kind of looking at the 2019 to the 2025 numbers as a more accurate trend line there.
And I will just say that through COVID, I think University Place businesses, for the most part, survived fairly well. We were able to give a couple of grants that you're aware of, and those really kept the lights on for some of our businesses. But the businesses that closed, and I can think of maybe 2 or 3, were businesses that were on the edge already. And so the COVID lockdown kind of sent them over. But I was impressed at how well our business community came through that. And something I will tell you too, something that you'll be seeing in the next month or so is our business license or business community videos. We've done videos of our 3 business districts. So out in the community talking to the business owners, one of the questions that was asked was, how do you like doing business in University Place? And almost every single person, without being asked, said, we cannot believe the support we received from the community during the lockdown. He said people would come and, they would call and order, they would pay for their order, and then they'd add $100 just because they wanted to see the businesses survive. And when you have a community that supports you that way, we've got some businesses that are totally sold on University Place and on being here. So I just wanted to let you know that. I thought it was, those were beautiful stories to hear, and it was very impressive. So another thing this profile revealed is what category of businesses do we have here? And I know that if someone were to ask you, what's the number one type of business we have in UP? Probably everyone would say dentists, because we have new dentists all the time. And you will see at the top of our business categories list is healthcare and social services. However, I looked a little bit deeper into that category, and dentists are actually the 6th top subcategory in that group. So above that are, and if you look in your report, there's I did a summary of like the top subcategories. So we have, the top was all other miscellaneous health services. This includes massage, acupuncture, naturopathic medicine, nutrition counseling, chiropractors. And so that is actually our largest subgroup of businesses in the healthcare industry in University Place. And dentists is at number 6. So I don't know if that makes you feel a little bit better about the dentists in town, but that's where we are. But these business categories come from the NAICS code, which is the North American Industry Classification System. Several years ago it was called a SIC code, and they've switched it now to the NAICS code, and that's how most governments track categorization. The category is assigned by the Department of Revenue, and so we receive that information from them. There are 20 total categories identified in the NAICS code. We represent 19 in University Place. So the one category we do not have is mining and oil extraction. So, and I think for a while we may have had a mining business, right? Mm-hmm. A little friend. A while ago. So anyway, you can see the total number of licenses and then the percentage that is of the total licenses. There's also a chart in your report that's a larger pie chart. We decided not to put it up here because it's really hard to read. That's a lot of information to put in the pie. But one of the things I wanted to point out, you see the utilities down there at the bottom with one business. That is an electric vehicle charging station that is in place at Walgreen on Bridgeport and Cirque. So I was surprised to find out they need to have business licenses, but they do. It made me think of in the old days when the red box machines were everywhere where you could get movies. Each single one of those machines had a business license. Oh, wow. So there's one of those other cases where business licenses mean a broader thing as far as business than we may think. Okay, so, yeah.
Oh, I just was very impressed when I saw some of these totals at the healthcare and social service, 297 in the city. I mean, that just jumped out at me. It's like, wow, that's a big number. And even the like the construction, I found as a very large number at 196 businesses in the city as well.
A lot of those are home-based, and these numbers include both home-based and storefront businesses. One of the surprises I found was that under one of the categories, a subcategory that was in third was clothing. And I thought, wow, who do we have that's manufacturing clothing? But most of those ended up being home-based businesses that do clothes at home and either sell them online or sell them to other people. This is, in 2012, we did our first business profile, and I thought it was interesting that the top 5 categories in 2012 are the very same categories that are on top in 2025. However, the order has changed a little bit, and you'll see that retail trade went from number 4 to number 3, which I think is encouraging, and it speaks about the growth of our retail community, especially here around town center. And then other services has dropped from 3 to 5, and construction moved up to number 4.
There's 4 more slides left. This might be a chance if you want to have any questions over some of these numbers before we go over the last groupings.
Councilmember Fleming.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you both for this report. I mean, economic development is just so near and dear to all of us here, not only in the council but throughout the city. And Becky, to your credit, thank you for what you do, and I really mean that. Watching how you welcome our new businesses and deal with those, and the ribbon cuttings, and the feedback that I get when I'm out talking to businesses, it's heartfelt. So it's really, really, really cool. I do have some questions though. And I know when we started the city, 80% of our revenues came from property tax back in the day. That's how poor we were in the business development. Today, what would those numbers look like?
It's a good question. I don't track the sales tax numbers. I could check with Leslie Blaisdell and get you those numbers.
I think it would be real interesting to compare today's numbers with that. The goal has always been to flip-flop that so that our tax revenues would be higher on the business side and less on the property side. And I suspect that's where we are based on what you're reporting, but it'd be really nice to see the hard numbers on that one. The other, your questionnaire that you ask businesses when they leave the city, I'd like to offer 2 more questions to your questionnaire. One would be what did we do well, for the businesses when they were here? And then the other is, what can we improve on, to support our businesses? I think those would be great questions. And then my last question is, the charging stations just befuddle me. Is it a state law that requires us to charge a business tax for a charging station, or where does that come from? Because it makes no sense.
I did a little bit of a research into it when I found that one, and what I was able to find looking on the internet is that they are required to have a business license.
But who requires it?
The state of Washington.
Wow, I think that's a conversation to be had with our legislators. Then, if we're trying to encourage people to be more on the electric side of things, it would make sense if we're going to put in charging stations. And I know and I've talked to Jack in the past, there's grants for cities to put in these charging stations. Are we going to be buying a business license for every charging station we put in if we do it as a city? And if so, that just makes no sense whatever. So maybe it's something we can look at.
Yeah, and I can answer at least a little bit to that. We'll probably have to dig a little deeper, but some of it's, so like a lot of the multifamily new projects that have gone in that put in charging stations, those are owned, they're not a separate business license. So if you put one into your house, you don't need a separate business license. But some of the ones that are put in out there are owned by another entity and just kind of rent the stalls from a potential business or work out a deal. So then they have a business license because they're owned by a separate entity and not the business where they're located. So in some cases they may need a business license, in some cases they may not.
Yeah, for the entrepreneurs, I get that piece. But let's use Walgreens since it came up as the example. If Walgreens owns that charging station, then they shouldn't have to have a business license for it.
That's what we'd have to dig in a little deeper and find out, because they may not own it. The charging station is owned by a different company.
If it's a different entity, they'll need a business license. If the city puts in charging stations, hypothetically, do we need a business license then because we own it? And if so, that wouldn't make any sense either. So I'd love to learn more about that, because it's kind of a crazy rule if we have one of those, unless it's an entrepreneurial type business, is saying, hey, I'll put these throughout the city and I'll make a little money on it. Yeah, those need to have a business license. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Boykin?
Oh, thank you, Mayor. Just two questions. The first one, I was intrigued by the expectation about business licenses, again, need to be acquired when there was an expectation of the individual inside of a cosmetology space or a barber chair, even in spite of the business license for the storefront. Made sense, but when I started thinking about the aspect of business licenses for, let's just say, the red box, if you will. I'm trying to think of those scenarios where you would acquire different media pieces and whatnot in a business license for that. Is there any situation where there's an exchange of products and services inside the city of University Place where a business license would not be required that you can note? Our city attorney is saying yes, but
there is a list, and council's going to have the opportunity to weigh in on this, I think, in about a month, because you're going to have some top-down changes coming from the state with the model business license. However, in broad strokes, there are monetary thresholds where if your business activities don't hit certain monetary thresholds.
That's there. Okay.
In terms of your relative sale amounts. The action that council is going to be asked to weigh in about a month, a number of jurisdictions have already weighed in, is actually raising those thresholds from the current amounts and adjusting it. And like I said, a lot of that's driven from the state. So for example, businesses with gross revenues of less than $12,000, I'm just reading from our current code, are currently exempt. That number I think is supposed to go, I want to say 14, but I don't have the exact language in front of me. And individuals who you might have a gross revenue that well exceeds that, but if the sales identified within the city are equal to or less than 2,000, and you don't maintain a place of business in the city, you're exempt. Our code provides A through I worth of exceptions. So whatever that comes out to in numerical format, I can't count tonight.
No, I appreciate that. The catalyst being a monetary threshold that very well may say yes because of the impact of that threshold.
Right.
Not necessarily the actual act that you've got a product or service that you're doing business in.
Our code also has some of that as well as actual acts. So for example, we prohibit from the licensing structure minors engaged in babysitting, delivery of newspapers, lawn mowing, car washing, and other similar activities. So we have a couple of other related ones throughout the code, but there are exceptions.
Thank you so much for that, Matt. And then one other question, it was around the compliance piece, I think, is how you had made mention of. We were talking about, you were sharing with us the difference from 2011 to 2012 and the impact of, I think it was approximately, 50% of the home-based businesses had been an increase from 2011 to 2012. In that regard, that also was the year that the state took over, if you will, for reporting that scenario. So I just wanted to have some clarity for myself. Was that a scenario where there was possibly underreporting, or is there a situation where that indicated the actual new home-based businesses that came into play? Is there a way to differentiate the two?
Yeah, no, I believe it was. A lot of it was underreporting, and so that was one of the advantages of us going with the state, is the state was able to grab a lot of businesses that we had missed that had not come into City Hall to get their business license, and so now they just do it right with the state when they get their UBI number and all of that. So yes, that is true. That did happen.
And there's a benefit. Is there a benefit to the city now that that scenario is no longer being underreported?
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
Is there a benefit, let me specifically say, is there any monetary benefit to the city now that those businesses are no longer under-reporting as relates to the state identifying those particular numbers?
Well, we do receive, they pay for a city business license, and so it's $50 a year for non-home base, and home base pays $25 a year. So we do receive revenue from those licenses.
Yes, ma'am, we do. I just want to make sure that that was affirmed and part of the record. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. A wonderful report, too, by the way, Becky.
Thank you.
That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, so I just want to remind council members to move up to the mic because it's hard for staff to hear, and it's really important not only for recording but also for staff to really hear you so they can fill your question. Councilmember Grassi.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On the exit survey, is there any way to kind of do a more periodic touch with what's working well, what's not working well? Do you have plans to move? How are you, before we do the exit? Because I can only, imagine that, you're not going to get an answer on that letter, and it would be, it'd be helpful to know prior. I know when you say you hear, it's pretty much too late before, but if there was a regular touch point survey that we could incorporate?
We could do that. We could look at doing something like that. We used to get more regular feedback on that. Every 5 years we did a big business survey citywide, and there were 2 questions in there that basically tried to get to those issues. How would you rate the city from very satisfactory to unsatisfactory as far as reaching out to businesses, and that also included development services questions.
Yeah.
So
I'm thinking more than the 5 years.
Yeah. Correct,
something
correct.
that we could.
And now
with
today's technology, possibly we could do a Survey Monkey.
Something, that would be
maybe every quarter or half a year.
Yeah, because it would break. If we could get to them before that, that just breaks my heart that we would miss it. And then also, is there, and maybe Kevin, but the peddler license that people have to get, is there an increase of those? Do we track those permits that people have to get from door to door to go door to door selling?
City clerk, I don't know, you might have information?
I'm sorry? For this year? Only 2 applications for this year? Yeah, okay, because we have way more than... how can we get that under control? Because I feel it's a safety standpoint too, and a business standpoint. I have encountered it. I know other neighbors have encountered it, where we have lots of people approaching doors at all hours of the day, aggressively, and night, and when there's lights and when there's not, and they're on scooters or they're on, and residents feel uncomfortable if they don't know if they're supposed to have that permit. Is there a better way that we can enforce that, or let our business community know that is a requirement in our city to have that permit? Because to hear there's only 2, and to know how many I see just personally, that's way out of accuracy. So
I think it's an education issue. A big part of it is, and then the enforcement of it, is always tricky. And I don't know quite how you would do that. It'd be something to investigate.
Yeah. Sorry. Complaint based, okay. Is there something staff could look at, and maybe Steve, that's a question for you, but I just feel that it's getting, wider and wider, at least from my personal experience, that we're seeing more and more of these door-to-door.
I'll be discussing that with staff, but thanks for bringing that up. I appreciate that.
Thank you. That's all I have, Marty.
Just to add to that is maybe one of the things I always look for is if they don't have any kind of tag, I should say, you're not licensed to be doing this, you need to leave my property. That doesn't help the other citizens. I have a 92-year-old citizen right across and she's always talking to me, Javier, this is dangerous for me. So but one of those things that we wear, says I'm mayor and a council member and it has a university place. It'd be nice if they were required to wear a thing that we give them. When they get licensed, here's the thing, and they have to pay for it. It's not free. For each salesperson, they may have door-to-door where they can be recognized and then is certified, and people can say, yeah, the university place, and we can see it, or a citizen can see it, without that. And then we can educate the public, saying if you don't see this, they're not licensed to be at your door. I mean, that's the only way, because even if they have a tag that says Unibike, and they're a business, we have no idea if they have if that's even a legit business, number one. Number two, if they are even licensed. So I'm on default. Nobody's licensed to come to my door unless so. But it's tough. I mean, I know that some of those may be legit and maybe provide a good service, but it's dangerous. I know that there's a couple of times where they were very aggressive, literally very aggressive, and they wouldn't leave, and they were just pestering, and so I said, I'm calling 911 right now and reporting you, and I actually did, and I stood out there and I saw one of the police come through, and I don't know what happened because they were down the block, but I identified it. But so it is a problem. And not everybody's as astute as a council member. A lot of people are out there who just don't know and get scared, and who knows. So I think we need to do a better job on that. That being said, it's just a quick comment and talking about how I think our city's done very well during the COVID time. You mentioned a lot about how the businesses stayed strong in UP and with a little help. But I remember in front of this building where we were trying to figure out, the staff was to get the checks out. You remember that? Mm-hmm. And you had a table, and Lisa and finance, I don't know who else in there, but there was a table out there with all the checks ready, and I felt really bad because these are business people with a lot of pride, and they had to get in line. I mean, literally in line. So I went out there personally and shook hands and talked to them and say, thank you for coming out. I don't know if this is an inconvenience from you leaving your business. And there's anywhere from a dentist to a contractor to a food person, and it was just, I felt bad because, for them to get off from their business and come over and collect a check was not something that I think that most businesses envision, but they did it. They put their ego aside and said, I need that money to stay in UP. They wanted to stay in UP, and so they were appreciative. I remember them saying, well, we appreciate you, because I think it was a decision on the city and the council how much per business. I remember all those discussions and all that. So I think we did a really good job. But I remember those conversations with it was like several days that it was set up that they could come through, and even those hardcore businesses that maybe weren't too happy, they were really happy to get in there. And they were, basically it was something that they knew that the city was there to support them. You talked about the $100 from citizens, all those tips that people gave. But I remember they were appreciative of our city, going out and putting all this together to give them an extra kick. And so it was a big deal. So.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's just my comment. So I think we can move forward.
Okay. So we thought it would be interesting for you to see. We took our storefront businesses only and plotted them out on a map of UP. And then we also highlighted the 3 different business districts that we have in the city. And you can see that the majority of our businesses are located in one of those 3 districts. We know that there's a little grouping of businesses up there on Cirque and Orchard, and they are outside of a business district. We've got a few down on the south end of the town center business district that are not in a district. But I just thought this was an interesting visual for you to see.
May I ask a question on that?
Councilmember Fleming.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Becky, can you tell us what that business is that's out on the waterfront in UP?
I was worried about this, man.
Chambers Bay.
There's a few. I mean, when you try to plot up all the storefront businesses, it's going to be a couple errors here or there. But out there, we do have two businesses that aren't home based, and I'm not sure why it plotted out there. It's the golf course or it's the Chambers Bay Grill.
I thought that's what that one dot right there on the off of looks like Grandview. I thought that was the Chambers Bay.
Yeah, there's
Directly
one that
across.
looks like it's in a neighborhood that I'm not sure we'd have to dig in. But then there's the two, the one out by the water. And one might be the wastewater treatment plant.
That's down south.
Yeah, and then the other one probably just for some reason plotted there, but it'd be the golf course
It's the cemetery.
or the Chambers Bay Grill.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
I think that's cemetery and then Chambers.
And city attorney just pointed out to me, and this is true, a daycare center, if it's not in a home, is a storefront business, and so we may have some of those plotted on there as
And a
well.
few of the assisted living facilities that are on Bridgeport outside here, those plotted.
Okay. So now this is a kind of a fun topic because I know there's always questions from our community about getting more restaurants in the city. And so I thought it would be interesting for you to see the numbers of restaurants we have in the University Place. The first thing I noticed was that accommodation and food services licenses have increased 30% since 2012. So as of first quarter of this year, we have 74 business licenses in this category. Of that list, 43 establishments are either full or limited service restaurants. And then I've broken them down by the business districts that they are in. So I think 43 places to eat is a pretty good number for a city of our size. And this does not include coffee shops or places that do a specific kind of food, like Wanna Cupcake is not in this number, Bliss is not in this number because those are specified specialties. But any place that you could go into and order some kind of a meal is included in this number. And so then on the next slide, I gave you that list. Yes.
Would Whole Foods, who serves food in there, you can sit down.
Whole Foods is not in.
Excuse me. Would Whole Foods that serves, you can sit down and eat, is that included in here?
No.
Wow, interesting. And also Harbor Greens, you can sit down and eat. That's not counted?
No, it's not.
Oh.
It's not. When Whole Foods first came in, they actually got a separate business license for their food area that was called the Lumber Yard. And over the years, they've only licensed just Whole Food total. So, and I believe, some of this categorization happens at the state level and Department of Revenue. I'm not sure what their requirements are as far as, how big of a percentage of the business is involved in providing food. For example, at Harbor Greens or at Whole Foods.
Yeah.
So we actually have more.
Yeah, or Safeway, they fall under a different category, under the grocery store category, even though they have food service there.
Councilmember Boykin.
Thank you, Mayor. I was curious if any of these entities expanded and had a food truck service. How would that, if at all, impact business licenses for City of University Place or for the state?
That's a good question.
If they, Councilmember, if they added a food truck,
a food truck service, much like if we were to have an event, and now let's pick any of those that are not immediately in our marketplace square area, and they had a food truck service that they wanted to be part of an event. How would that, if at all, impact business licenses to your understanding for the City of University Place or for the state for that matter? Any idea?
Is your the understanding question, would they need to get a separate business license to operate the food truck?
Yes, much like the operator inside a cosmetology space, that kind of thing.
I don't know 100%, but I wouldn't think so if they're operating under the same business umbrella. Now, they have to go to the health department and get their other licenses to be approved to serve out of that vehicle. However, if they operated under the same entity as the main business, I wouldn't think they would need a separate business license. Now, they may choose, sometimes the businesses themselves want to operate it for other reasons under a separate business license or LLC for various reasons, maybe insurance, maybe other reasons, maybe employment or so forth. But if they kept it under the same umbrella, I wouldn't think there would be any reason that they'd have to get a separate business license for that.
Okay, thank you so much. That's very helpful.
Okay, continue.
And if you're counting up these businesses, you'll see 42. And the reason is that we have 2 McDonald's. So you could put a little 2 by the McDonald's, and that brings you to 43.
Okay.
And then also in the last page of the report I gave you in your agenda packet has this listing as well as the addresses. So if you're interested in seeing who they are and where they are and maybe trying to visit all 43, you'll have a list for you there. But I'm hoping that we can do something with this information and get the word out to our citizens on social media, on our web page. There's been a lot of talk in the past about trying to provide a business list on our webpage, which with 1,700 businesses is pretty undoable, but we could conceivably provide a list of restaurants in UP, and that number is small enough that we could keep up with that and keep it pretty current. So anyway, my conclusions from this study, and hopefully maybe yours as well, is that University Place has quite a few destination-type businesses that draw people in. And some of these are stores. For example, Whole Foods, you've got Trader Joe's, and then you've got Chambers Bay, the golf course out there. And so those businesses not only bring revenue into the city because of their sales, but they bring outsiders into the city to increase our revenue. Second conclusion was kind of attached to this, but seeing that our largest business sector is medical and social services, that also attracts people into our city that may not live here. If you find a dentist that you really like and they open in UP and you live out in Lakewood, you're probably going to drive into UP to go to that dentist, and maybe you'll have lunch on your way out of town. So those are some good destination facts for us. Business growth has been steady for the last decade. We haven't seen any crazy drops. We continue to either hold steady or increase. University Place has developed a reputation as a great location to do business. I don't have solid research that I can provide to you on this, but it's anecdotal from just about every business I talk to. They're always praising our development services department. This is the easiest city I've ever set up businesses. And so I give a lot of kudos to the way we in development services help them get their permits and go through the process they need to open a new business. Also, not just the way we process businesses, but our school district, our safety, the way the city is so clean. These things come up again and again as I talk to businesses, and it's kind of a theme. And so to me, that's one of the conclusions I take in looking at our business community. And then the last one is that University Place benefits from delivered goods and services. I know Kevin asked you at the beginning how many of you have ordered something that was delivered to you here in UP. And when you've done that, the city gets revenue from those goods and services that are delivered here. And so my feel is that we are alive, Councilmember Fleming, and we are thriving, and I hope that for the next 30 years we can continue with this kind of success. Thank you.
Good. Okay, thank you. Any further questions, comments? Mayor Pro Tem Wood.
Thank you, Mayor. So first I will say that in the 4 years I've been on council now, this is by far the best economic development report I've seen to date. I love the work that went into it, the data pull you did, answering a lot of questions in advance that you probably have heard from us in the past. And I just really think this was very well done, and I would love to see something like this done more frequently than maybe an annual event. I don't know how much time you had to put into generating this report, but if there's this data, I think would be good to just keep an eye on the trend lines going forward. And I think you spoil us now with a good report, so no. So I would love to see this kind of thing going forward as much as possible. And with that, I would like to echo Councilmember Grassi's comments on the survey.
Okay.
As far as frequency, I don't know what the right answer is, whether it's quarterly, semi-annually, or annually. But I think you mentioned you've only had like 2 businesses respond to an exit survey. I would really love to get information before they leave. And like you said, I understand why the delay. Or why we're not getting the responses, but if we could just punch out a survey annually just saying, how are we doing as a city? What's working for you, what's not? I think that would be really valuable information to help us just focus our efforts as a staff and as a council to try and make this a great business environment. And what I love, you mentioned we've seen steady growth, and I can look at our business districts and still see them underdeveloped. There's still room for growth in all of them. And so I really hope to see that trend line continuing as we go forward, because there's just room for it to happen. And I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
And that'll conclude my questions for now. Thank you.
Councilmember Grassi.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for a wonderful report and for the hard work that you do and put into our businesses. And Kevin, thank you. For every business owner that's watching our community, I just want to take this opportunity to say thank you to our business owners as well, home-based, storefront. It is a huge undertaking to open a business, and small business is the backbone of Pierce County. It is near and dear to my heart. It is the core of our community, and so I'm just grateful for every business owner that puts their trust in this city. It means a great deal to me, and I think this report shows that we're doing our due diligence to come up with the best solutions and the best environment for them to thrive. That's so important. I do love the idea of adding that restaurant list to our website as we're revamping our website, and I also love the idea of providing that list of restaurants to our dentist office and to our medical offices. As people are sitting in the waiting room thinking, where am I going to go after this appointment? Maybe they do want to head up, want a cupcake. Maybe they do want, the more synergy that we can have where one business benefits another and we can facilitate that is huge. And one less thing on a business owner's mind that they have to do of marketing is a huge benefit too when we're looking out for them. So anything that we can do like that to synergize, I think is really important. But thank you so much for your hard work, and thank you to our business community. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Boykin.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Betty Metcalf, and thank you, Kevin Brisky, for the report. I, too, thought it was fabulous. I also am that much more excited about the detail that was offered from the economic development perspective. And no secret that economic development is very important to me, and the perspectives I believe that we're always mindful of that focus when it comes to City of University Place. Had just 2 questions. One very well may give some idea about what the frequency is as we try to figure out and hone when that survey that both Council Member Grassi and Pro Tem Wood talked about, and that is maybe really deciding, thank you so much, maybe it's again really deciding what is the goal of that exit interview. If we are, for example, in my view, clear about what that goal is for that exit interview, it's going to tell us when we should be providing that opportunity for those that we want to solicit information from. So just food for thought in that regard. And I think the second one was, you had made mention of everything from your conclusions, which I think are really, really spot on, that you thought everything from an anecdotal perspective. You could affirm that, yes, University Place, the City of University Place has developed a great reputation to do business. Also, it's been steady for the last decade. Empirical data, though, I thought I would ask, what is our particular go-to for demonstrating the same? Because I'm confident we've got some empirical data. So just food for thought of what you believe that to be, and I can take that at a later time, but I just wanted to make sure that I had that clear in my mind so I could continuously affirm from both perspectives, anecdotally as well as empirical data, that what I know to be true as well. This is a great place to work, play, and certainly do great business. And thank you so much, you and Kevin, again, for the great report.
Thank you.
Okay, so I give you the golden ticket for prime performance, and I adjourn this meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.